Hello, Robert. This is Joel. What I'm going to go over with you right now is the basic scheme of industrial arts. And it will be in two general sections. First will be as it is in piano and as it actually is in its proper key, which is D. I've divided it into basically right hand and left hand parts. And as I think you know, it begins with an introduction, an intro. It ends with a coda. And in between there are 8 sections. The 8 sections are all, in theory, expandable to up to an hour in length. But what I'm going to do is give you a feeling for what happens in each of the 8 sections. First of all, though, a note on what I mean by the infinity sign. Actually, it appears in this chart many different times. First as the sign for repetition, which, you know, is close to the sign for division. The sign for repetition followed by a little infinity mark. That means repeat ad libitum, at will. What I've also done is try to indicate the basic meter. Everything is in eighth notes here. Everything is written out in eighth notes, but they are grouped in different ways. The intro, which is played by the left hand as indicated, is in 3/8. It sounds like this. Again, that can be repeated ad libitum, but in so doing, emphasize different notes of a 3 so that it can sound like this. Etc. Completely up to you. All right, now it's time for section number 1. Section number 1 has eighth notes grouped in the right hand in a 7/8 meter. There's a prefatory note, which is D, and then we launch right into the 7/8. All right. The left hand against that continues in 3/8, such that it sounds like this together. Now, section 1 continues with the same right hand, but with the left hand dropping down to B, B, F sharp. So the transition sounds like this. Then the left hand drops down to G, G, D. And finally down to D, D, A. So you see where it says continue right hand? That's what I'm doing. Then we repeat that entire first section. Now again, you can make these sections just as long as you'd like them to be. All right, moving on to 2. In 2, the left hand maintains a 6/8 figure, one or other, either this, which we have been playing, or this. Okay, what the right hand is doing there is improvising in the D major scale, which you know very well. All right, so what we try and do with the right hand is improvise with riffs. In other words, phrases. Let's use the more complicated of the two left hands, and I'll improvise against it so you get a feeling for it. All right, that's section number 2. Number 3 continues with the same left hand. The right hand now is playing basically a blues improvisation, following the blues chord that's listed there, with a +9 and a -9. Okay, such that we have something like this. On to 4. In 4, things clear out. They're no longer bluesy, and just the outlines, not even of the chords, but just in the left hand. In other words, 1, and then 8, and then 5. And the right hand is playing this riff in 8s. Of course, what you're doing then is trying to change the emphasis on the right hand and change individual notes in it too. So what you're trying for there is no longer counterpoint as we had in the second section, no longer blues as we had in the third. But in this fourth, it is a big open feeling. All right, moving on to 4. Now, 4 is a very interesting section. It starts out with just this, as with 1. Then you put, well, let's see, we have an alternative there, I see, which is in the right hand to just go like this. All right, but you do that with the damper pedal on, such that it sounds like this. And what you do there, although I notice I didn't indicate it, is you speed up and slow down with it. What you're trying to do in it is listen for the overtones that pop out. When you do, then intuitively you emphasize their development. What I mean is, when you hear what produces an overtone, you repeat that effect, subtly changing it to try to enhance the overtones. Okay, got that? Then you take the pedal off and repeat 1. All right, with the same thing with the left hand going down, etc. Okay? Now we move on to 7. 7, which is a harmonic reprise. So far we've had a very, very open melody in terms of its harmony, but here we actually are moving through chords. You recognize this chord, that has a dominant 7th feel. And then it's going to go from there to a diminished chord, such that this is the way the harmonic reprise sounds. through twice. That's the one section which I very seldom will repeat. Generally, I just go through that twice. And then we're on to 8. In 8, the right hand repeats 1. The left hand just goes down to the 4 chord. And then it goes down to the 1 chord. Clear? And now we're ready for the coda. The coda is interesting. In Roman numeral 8, we repeat as many times as you want. The only indication that I've given there is that we break at the end and start moving very slowly. And that's the whole of it. Now, we've done the basic scheme. Let's move on to the version that I have written for you based on that scheme in solfege. Do, sol, fa. You ought to be able to sing this. So, in other words, it's for 2 voices. A voice that goes do, sol, fa, which is cognate with the left hand. And then this. Do, re, do, re, do, re, mi, do, mi, do, mi, do, re, mi, do. Clear? Once again, repeat that to infinity. Repeat that as many times as you want. And then you'll see that I've written out the left hand in the next register down. Okay, so in other words, it's basically la, la, mi. Okay? La, la, mi, la, la, mi. And then it goes down to fa, fa, do. Fa, fa, do, fa, fa, do, fa, fa, do. And then finally, do, do, so, do, do, so, do, do, so, do. I have no idea what your vocal range is, but if you can't sing it down, I'd just say sing it up. Okay, we repeat 1 onto Roman numeral 2 of industrial arts in solfege. The upper voice is improvising. The lower voice, we know what it's doing. It's either going do, sol, fa, do, sol, fa, do, sol, fa, right? Or do, la, sol, do, sol, fa. That's possible too. Okay? Now, in the 3rd section, the lower voice is going or. Okay, it's either do, la, sol, do, sol, fa. Okay, that's possible. Okay, now what happens to the upper voice is that it improvises on the blues chord, which I've outlined for you there. And then we have something too tricky for me to sing. You just have to work that out, but it is in the 4th section, the reprise. No, that's the 4th section is I have to check back on my notes. Oh, yes, I see. It's the change in emphasis while the right hand is improvising. So, do, sol, do, sol. While the left hand is going do, do, sol, do, do, sol, do, do, sol, do, do. All right. Now, moving on to 5. 5 is tricky because what I want is for both voices to imitate the drone sound that's analogous to keeping your foot on the pedal. And I thought of various ways to do that, Robert. For example, e.g., you can drop your jaw. You can sing through your teeth and through your nose. You can pucker your lips and make a fish mouth. Or sing head tones. In other words, try to sing strictly with your head, and let it vibrate. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 is a repeat of number 1 very briefly. And then we have the harmonic reprise of 7. And you know how that sounds. I needn't play it for you again. But I've written out the syllables there in case you would like to do it. In number 8, the upper voice simply repeats 1. And then we have the coda. And we know the coda is the same in both cases. It's just very, very slow. Okay, now I'm going to go take a picture of all this for you. If you have any questions, just shoot them my way, and I'll try and explicate matters further. But you made me work for this, Robert, but I hope that you can take it and transform it, into actual music. All right? My very best to you, my brother. Bye-bye.